Well, hello guys, what is happening? We're back, we're in Boston in 1765. Connor's growing up now. By 1765 he'll be in his teens. My guess at this point is Connor will be about 15, 16-ish. So a teenager. Let's go get the goods that Achilles asked us to get. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, guys, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. We can get more Connor up for you and more content coming soon as well, including some brand new content.
I need the items on this list.
Will you be paying with coin or trade? Some of these things I have, some I don't. Lumber's hard to come by since my supplier up and vanished. I have the tools and pitch, though. Nails, too. So, where do you want this delivered?
Our wagon is near the State House.
So he didn't try to cheat him. Well, he probably did cheat him, but Connor doesn't
return to Achilles.
know about that kind of trade.
For New York, for Virginia, no one. Come with us. But Old Sarum is represented. And Newport, and Newtown, Seaford, and Saltash. The list goes on. Rotten boroughs, one and all. And yet, there are men who speak for them. These places... What has become of the rights of Englishmen? Are we not entitled to have a say in our governance? Who are they to silence our voices, to insist we be represented by strangers? Have you forgotten the Stamp Act and how we responded? We spoke up. We resisted, so they stood down. We were heard, and it was repealed.
I like what he's saying. And rotten boroughs he's referring to are places in England which had representatives but no electorate. So they were people who were simply unanimously allowed to sit in Parliament without people actually voting for them.
What happened?
That's what we're going to find out. Follow me.
To King Street, we'll show them.
Now I know what's happening here.
Down to the customs house for...
Patriots are colonists who united against the British government in the Revolutionary War, although at the time of the Revolution, patriot was something of a negative term. What we call patriots today were more likely to be called Whigs, or if you were a loyalist, they were rebels. Interestingly, what we would call, or what would eventually come to be known as the Liberal Party in England, was at one point the Whig Party, although that's a very 16 years old, fourth year in high school, standard grade definition. It's much more complex than that. At one point there were only two parties in the English democratic system. There were the Whigs and the Tories. The Whigs were seen as the more liberal of the two parties, but liberalism as we understand it did not exist at that time. It's simply that the Whigs were more inclined to be a little more progressive in their thinking than their Tory counterparts. That's, again, a very simplified explanation, but it'll do for a video like this. So interesting that the Patriots were called Whigs. The Whig Party in England was also the party that was arguing for more rights to be granted to the colonists, particularly Edmund Burke, who was a prominent Whig and would go on to write literature on the French Revolution. Trying to think of the leader of the Whig Party at the time, Burke was an ally of his. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But it's interesting for me to see that the name was applied to both. And I wonder if that's because the Whigs were arguing for the colonists' rights. But I say for the colonists' rights. The Whigs might have been arguing for the colonists' rights, but when they weren't the party in power at the time, it was the Tories. And also, even if the Whigs were arguing for the colonists' rights, they wouldn't have been arguing for the rights that the colonists wanted. They simply would have been arguing for more concessions to be given to the colonists. because it gave them a platform to oppose the Tories in Parliament. That's all. It's not that they were interested in helping the colonists get everything they wanted. At the end of the day, even the Whigs would have preferred to have the colonies under British rule, but they advocated for concessions. So, Patriot motto, no taxation without representation. Also, a phrase that requires a bit of unpacking for a modern audience. The colonies didn't elect representatives to the British legislature. Excuse me, I had to cough. The colonies didn't elect representatives to the British legislature, and because of the travel distance between Britain and America and the distinct lack of aeroplanes, it wouldn't have been practical. Instead, patriots wanted to be governed by representatives within the colonies. Of course, they did have legislatures already, but those were prone to being shut down by British-appointed governors whenever they didn't behave properly, or, in other words, didn't do what they were told. It's hard to know how many in the colonies were patriots, but the best guess is between 40 and 45% of the population. The rest were either loyalists or people who decided to remain tactically neutral. What I would say is that had they been allowed to elect representatives within the colonies and have a colonial assembly, there would have naturally been a period of progression where eventually the colonies would have separated anyway, because there's no way to maintain control at that kind of distance. And the colonies would have eventually realised, why are we answering to the British government when we are a distinct and separate entity with our own legislature, our own elected representatives, our own system of government. The Revolutionary War, in my opinion, just sped things up by a couple of centuries.
Come along!
It's important you get some political context to this, because we are about to insert ourselves into what is probably the most famous revolutionary war in history. France had its revolution, and yes, the French campaigned to preserve their revolution by defeating their local neighbours so that they could carry on. But
I say again, disperse.
the French didn't have to overthrow a power.
Not going anywhere, Bug.
Oi! Why don't you go back to England?
No good can come of this chaos. Return to your homes, and all will be forgiven. Never!
Not until you've answered for your crimes!
You're right, cowards! You don't scare us.
Pointing guns and unarmed! We ain't afraid!
Haytham.
Is that my father?
Yes, which means trouble is sure to follow. I need you to tail his accomplice. This crowd is a powder keg. We can't allow him to light the fuse.
But
nothing. Do as I say and go.
Come on, you gosh-gutted coward! You doesn't shoot at me! Hey, Lobster! Go ahead! Fire your little gun!
Quick bit on Haytham Kenway, it'll have been updated. Kenway, who became Grand Master in the colonies and therefore the man responsible for the 1763 attack on the colonial assassins. The attack wiped out most of the membership and almost all of our records from that era. It's never been clear exactly what happened in the attack or how Kenway managed to make it such a complete surprise. You find that out in Rogue. So by the time Haytham came to fight the colonists, came to fight the assassins, he would have been the Grand Master of the Templar Order, and the Order would have known that he was an assassin. He's gotten bugged. That's a bit sucky. I might have to fail this to get him to move.
Oi, you there!
Yeah, I had to. So there you see what I mean about not all the bugs have been squashed in this game yet. It's unlikely to get any updates as well. I know it was remastered for modern consoles. It was remastered from the PS3 to the late generation PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, but it still has bugs and glitches. That's
Oh,
one.
You there? What's all the fuss about?
Fire at the townhouse.
Here we go. Did you hear that? It said fire at the townhouse. Ooh, nearly. Ah, I did get detected. I thought I could hide in that door. Oh well. I never meant that one. I never meant to get caught there. Yeah, I was saying earlier, while I'm trying and retrying this, France never had to overthrow a sovereign government that was exercising absolute control over it. France overthrew an absolute monarchy. So they overthrew their own king in order to build a republic. He's got stuck again, hasn't he?
Boy, you there? What's all the fuss about?
Detected again. This is getting annoying now. This might be a game-breaking glitch at this point. I may have to restart the whole memory sequence. That would be unfortunate. So yeah, France overthrew their own system of government, their own absolute monarchy, in order to create the French Republic. The American colonies were a distinct organisation.
Boy, you there? What's all the fuss about?
At this point, and they were not overthrowing their king or their government because they already had a form of government. The colonies were a distinct entity that should have been allowed to flourish and self-govern, but yeah, he's moving on now. And the other thing is that the French didn't go to war in the sense that the British and Americans went to war. France's revolution was very much an internal revolution, whereas Britain had to send troops across seas to what had been their colonies in order to try and exert some control and take back their authority. And the Americans, in the name of freedom of the individual to choose, which they had,
Your plot is ended.
Not quite. Damn you! Fire!
Haytham knows who he is. So, you might be asking why the Templars would order someone to fire on the British if they were backing the British. The Boston Massacre. I'll show you the thing about the Boston Massacre in a second. Boston Massacre. Important that you learn this. Boston Massacre was a culmination of several fights between British soldiers and the people of Boston. A group of British soldiers fired into a crowd at point-blank range, killing 5. The reality of it is less damning to the British than what it sounds. What started as an argument about a wig maker's bill of all times turned into a mob. Hundreds of Boston citizens kept 8 British regulars cornered for hours. By the end of it, many were holding clubs, throwing stones and taunting the soldiers to fire. Captain Thomas Preston was in charge of the regulars and tried to defuse the situation by talking to the crowd. They asked if his soldiers' guns were loaded. He admitted they were, but it would have been stupid for him to order to fire, since at the time he was standing in front of them. It wasn't until one of his soldiers was hit by a stone, which forced him to drop his musket, that the regulars fired into the crowd, against the orders of Preston, who testified he never gave the command to fire. It's possible his men mistook the taunts of the crowd for an order. The regulars were arrested and tried for murder. 6 were acquitted, including Preston. The other 2 men were found guilty, but had their thumbs branded in lieu of the usual sentence, which was death. One of the interesting things about the massacre is what happened afterward, how both sides tried to spin it to their advantage. The fact that most people call it a massacre should give you some idea of who won this particular PR war. Revolutionaries portrayed it as an attack on colonial liberties, and images of the event, popularised by Paul Revere, showed an organised British force firing into the crowd, not a confused group of soldiers cornered by an angry mob. The British, on the other hand, referred to the event as the incident on King Street. The wig maker dropped his prices and it never happened again. So, the Boston Massacre was another fuse designed to ignite the Revolutionary War. Now I need to get back to Achilles. I will be investigated on site by these guys. Try to avoid patrols where I can. I can get across here. Hang on a second, there's actually a small alleyway. So this is probably the first time a lot of people who watch me play this game will have any major idea of what's going on in the historical events. The Crusades aren't as well studied as a lot of modern history is. The difference was in my household, my dad was very much a history buff, and so he taught me a bit, and obviously I'd seen fictitious portrayals of the Crusades in Hollywood films and seen enough to put 2 and 2 together with the history that my dad was telling me. And then by the time I came to study it at university, I knew enough to...
Over here.
I knew enough to piece together the history of what happened, and the university education, the modules that I studied there really helped me learn the historical context for them. The Italian War of the States, however, was something that I hadn't really studied. And like most people, don't have much idea about beyond the history that the Ezio trilogy teaches you. So I didn't really know too much about, I knew from passive learning that Milan was a powerful duchy and the Vatican was its own city within Rome. But I didn't know much about the conflict between those Italian city-states. This jump forward to history that I recognise will hopefully make it a bit more accessible for you guys as well.
You're Achilles' boy. Connor, was it? I saw what happened at the townhouse. A fine mess, that.
Who are you?
Samuel Adams, at your service.
Connor's not much a
Achilles asked me
handshaker.
to get you out of Boston.
Explain.
The whole city's looking for you.
Oh yay, oh yay! A criminal stalks the streets, wanted in connection with the massacre at the townhouse. Citizens are advised to call the guards if they see him. £10 to whoever brings this madman.
What am I supposed to do?
Well, you can take down these posters for a start. Return to me once you remove the others.
So Sam Adams, one of the founding fathers,
Take down those posters and then we'll talk.
is gonna... So I've reached notoriety level 3, which means if I'm seen by guards like him, I need to take down 2... Oh no.
We can't be seen together until these posters are gone.
That's quite a few triangles. Right, okay, here we go. Let's go. Oh, wow. I'm going to go in the water. So, Jaegers are German mercenaries.
But we now suspect a man of native origin. Many speculate as
There we go.
a show of solidarity with the protesters, vengeance for an attack on his people, or was it merely an act of madness? I fear we shall have no answers until
I think I'm about to die.
custody. So long as he still walks the streets, all of us are in danger.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna die here. Yeah. So, the trick is not to get caught here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jaegers are German mercenaries.
Take down
So,
those posters and then we'll talk.
you need to be slightly wary of them. They are more... or deadlier enemies. I think I'm just gonna have to dive into the water and be careful where I walk.
Or was it merely an act of madness? I fear we shall have no answers until he is in custody. So long as he still walks the streets, all of us are in danger.
Ouch! Get out of my way, you. If he approaches, he's getting assassinated, yeah. And I think I'm clear. Yeah, I am now. Need to find another poster nearby. I'm not jumping out while that Jaeger's looking in my direction.
Until he is in custody. So long as he still walks the streets, all of us are in danger.
Why did I pick the hard posters to go for? So enemies will...
None can say for certain who fired the first shot, but we now suspect a man of native origin.
Here we go.
Ah, Connor. There you are. I'd like you to meet Cyrus.
Is he the killer?
Tease. Cyrus is on our side, or rather, for the right price, he will be.
Have you seen this man?
Watch and learn.
Oh yay, oh yay! Word has reached us that the man responsible for today's shooting may have been in disguise. A wig and makeup tin were found near the scene of the crime. Witnesses describe a middle-aged gentleman of pale complexion fleeing towards the wharves, rifle in arm.
Thank you kindly, Cyrus.
Pleasure.
Come on, then. There's still one last bit of work to do.
So all of this is the mechanics that we used in previous games to lower our
Where are we
notoriety.
going? To the printer. Where do you think all those posters came from? They're made by a machine. We need to shut it down.
So I have to escort Sam Adams to the... Although he's not walking.
Stay put.
Is he following me now? Yeah, he is. Right.
Damn it, we're too late. They've set up a checkpoint. Come on. This way.
I can go by rooftop and meet you there.
No. Better you learn about the tunnels now.
Tunnels?
The Masons have a whole network of them under the city. They're quite useful when speed and secrecy are required.
Don't know. Oh, the tunnels are the marker. Right, okay. To the underground entrance of the Green Dragon Tavern. Right, okay. So there is a troop of British regulars walking backwards and forwards here. But we've just cut through their... we need to go this way. Come on, Sammy boy, I hope you're good at running. Now, if you're asking who Samuel Adams is, I imagine we'll get an entry on him, but I believe he is one of the founding fathers of the United States and one of the signatories of the Declaration of Independence. Here we go. A Boston lawyer, a signatory of the Declaration of Independence, prominent political figure during the lead up to the American Revolution. Born in Massachusetts, son of another Sam Adams, well-off merchant. He went into business for himself, but was a dismal failure and ended up taking a job in the family brewery. Adams was elected to the Massachusetts legislature in 1765, which was the beginning of his political career. He was a staunch supporter of colonist rights, mainly the ever-popular arguments over whether British Parliament had the right to impose taxes, but he wasn't pro-independence, at least not at first. He's portrayed as an angry radical often, but that's a bit of a biased picture. He disliked vigilantism, and for the most part, vigilantism for the most part, although he approved when a mob forced Boston stamp collector to resign. In later years, when he was in Congress, he refused to join a political party because he found the idea divisive. However, his reputation for being a rabble-rouser is somewhat understandable. He was a representative for the town of Boston after the Boston Massacre and succeeded in having the regulars kicked out of town. He spoke at the Old South Meeting Hall just prior to the Boston Tea Party, and it said he gave the signal for the dumping of the tea. He had to leave Boston for Lexington in 1775 to avoid arrest by the British, who considered him a troublemaker. When the siege of Boston began, the Massachusetts governor offered a pardon to any rebels who would lay down their arms, except Adams and John Hancock. And I know John Hancock's one of the signatories as well, because that's one of the American slang terms for your signature, isn't it? Put your John Hancock. How am I getting here? Oh, this narrow alleyway, perhaps? I seem to be getting further away rather than closer. And there's going to be troops looking this way. Actually, Does it matter if these troops are looking at me? No. Because I'm not notorious. I need to go this way now and round. Yeah. Perfect. Come on, Sammy boy. Fast walk at least. So I started saying earlier and then I tailed off. You might wonder why the Templars would incite the crowd to fire on the British if they were supporting the British in the colonies. The reason the Templars were inciting the crowd to fire upon the British was to force the British into reprisals that would ensure a larger military presence and a more aggressive approach to law and order to ensure control. Because it was the Templars figured that they could make the colonies a model in control and law and order because it was a smaller group of people far away from the levers of power. So the only power would technically be whoever was there able to exert influence at the time. The Templars figured that if they managed to coerce the British into absolute control over the colonies, that they could then insinuate themselves into that control and shape it the way they wanted to. And by making the colonies a model of control and law and order, gradually and insidiously expand that idea over time and distance into the rest of the world, basically. So it's almost like it was a way of doing it without having to rely on finding the first civilization artifacts. However, the assassins are obviously going to take the other side.
Here we are, then.
There we go, I just needed time to catch up. So we're right in amongst key historical events here. We were present at the Boston Massacre.
Hold on.
We've met Sam Adams. We're trying to escape the powder keg that is Boston in 1765. 1765. There's a glitch for you. So the underground tunnels can be used to fast travel, but for some reason Ubisoft thought
to light the lamps, Connor. They'll help us find our way should we get turned around.
I wonder why they built these tunnels.
As I was saying, these are used to fast travel, but not like this. This is for some reason an illustrative little bit of a level. I don't know why they felt it necessary, because they never had to do this with Ezio's tunnels.
Let us move on.
But here we are, wandering around in tunnels. I don't know why. Just send me, just fast travel me.
To say it, we must follow the rats, as they often move in the direction of an exit.
Okay. And this is where we want to be.
Well, well. You were right. I apologize for ever doubting. No wonder Achilles has taken such an interest in you.
Arse.
I don't suppose lockpicking is part of your repertoire?
Yeah, it is. And that'll be the same way Hatham did it as well. Use L to locate the tension angle. Use R to rotate the raking angle. and then break it. Here we go.
Well done. The printer isn't far. Let us reconvene there.
So it looks like to actually unlock the fast travel points, you have to first travel through the tunnels and unlock the door. So that's a bit... It's making you earn the fast travel, but considering you just threw it at us in the last couple of games, I would say that's a step backwards rather than a step forward. You're just adding unnecessary busy work to something that we already had that worked better as gamers. So I kind of don't like that that's been taken away. So I've reached notoriety level 1 somehow. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it needs me to have some kind of notoriety in order for what we're about to do at the printers make sense. It just means that guards will notice me faster, but that's it. It does not mean that they will discover me faster, if that makes sense. See, they just notice me quicker. And then if I step into this group, gone. And again, there's more than one police force, if you want to call it that. There's more than one military maintaining law and order. Those guys that just about noticed me were patriots. They were dressed in colonial militia uniforms. The British are obviously another one, so this harks back to the sort of Byzantine of the Assassin's Creed Revelations, where we had both what was left of the Byzantine guards plus the Ottoman guards. Both of those factions would attack us if we were caught doing anything dodgy. Here it's the colonial militia and the British regulars. Yeah, I've met this guy before.
You ask a great deal of me, Sam.
I know, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't important, if it wasn't vital.
Fine. Just this once, though. In the future, such things will come at a price. Resetting the type is neither quick nor easy. To say nothing of the cost should I be discovered.
I shall not forget this kindness.
Nor I.
His work will see your last little bit of notoriety erased. Come, I'll show you how to leave now that order's been restored.
So he's changing the wanted posters
now you've had a
that were
chance
being
to see
sent
how it
out.
all works. Untoward actions will upset the citizens and inevitably lead to the guards being called.
There you go.
Depending on the severity of your transgression, they may simply search a bit before giving up and returning to their posts. But should you offend them severely or repeatedly, they'll become much more aggressive in their pursuits. I've shown you 3 ways to turn the tide. Remove wanted posters, bribe town criers, or visit a printer to create your own propaganda.
This feels wrong. Why not just speak to someone and explain my innocence?
You can't be serious.
We counter one lie with another. Words on paper instantly taken as truth, and all of it without question.
They loose this beast, or have you forgotten? I merely helped you tame and turn it round.
There must be another way. Something more honest.
Well, when you find it, do let me know. But until then, we sculpt with the clay we have.
My apologies. I do not mean to sound ungrateful.
Quite all right. I was much the same at your age. You'll grow out of it.
And if I do not? If I refuse?
Then
You'll likely wind up dead.
here we are. Speak with the harbor master and he'll see you home.
Thank you for everything, Sam. I promise one day to repay the favor.
Oh, I'm counting on it.
Like this.
Now we're shaking hands, and Connor's learning to trust people. So, the reason we can talk to the harbour master is because the Davenport estate, where Achilles lives, has its own dock. And these lines you can see are shipping routes from the Davenport estate out to various different places. Now, my geography of North America is virtually non-existent. I have never visited the country, so I'm not sure what each of these places are. So forgive me, I am very, very sorry, American viewers. I will try to learn. I imagine you guys recognise them, so you'll know where I'm heading. I don't. And back we go, having learned Assassin's Creed 3's, or relearned the Assassin's Creed series methods for getting rid of your notoriety, and they haven't changed. The only thing that you could argue is different. This is the dock at the Davenport estate. It will look better in the future, believe you me. What was I saying again? Yeah, the only thing you could argue that's new in Assassin's Creed 3 is resetting or visiting a printer to print your own propaganda. And the other two are exactly the same. The other two methods of lowering your notoriety are exactly the same as the other games. You've got Bribe a Town Crier, which we've done before. Those are the guys that you just walk up to that are shouting abuse and you chuck a couple of coins in their hand, just like we did there. And you rip down wanted posters, which we've done, and we didn't actually do in Assassin's Creed Revelations, but we did do in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. And back to the house we go. And Achilles is waiting for us. There we go.
Welcome back.
You left me in Boston.
The training we've done here is all well and good, but experience is a better teacher by far.
What of my father?
Into the wind, I'm afraid.
We have to find him.
And we will, after the house has been repaired.
But he's out there plotting who knows what.
And what would you do when you found him? If you found him? You're a boy with a few months of training. He's a man full grown who spent decades honing his skills. If you're going to stand a chance against the Templars, you're going to need these.
Hidden blades.
Go on before I change my mind.
So Connor's earned his blades. Remember I said we would meet those two guys, the Scottish guy and the English guy that were arguing. So I need to go outside the house and talk to the guy. Okay.
You, sir, please, help! He's going to die!
I remember this one. This is what would have happened to your fat friend if...
There's no time! Please, come!
So, this is the busy work of the Assassin's Creed 3 world. You can find people on the homestead, on the land around the house, that have travelled here for particular reasons, whether it be business or whatever, trade, industry.
He's just passed under the bridge!
And you do them a favour. Yeah, you do them a favour and they agree to lend you their expertise. Now the trick here is trying to get to Terry before he goes off before he goes off the edge.
Someone! Help! Someone!
Now I'm moving as fast as I can. Obviously the water is moving him.
Please!
There we go. Whew. And we got to him before he went over the fall.
What this knobend is trying to say is he's forever in your debt, sir.
Who you calling? A knob end?
You, because you are one.
What were you doing on those logs?
One of the dangers of lumbering. We've got the camp set up a few rods off of here as we're cutting timber. We're hoping to open a mill in the area.
There's a good place not far from the manor on the hill where I'm staying.
I like you already. We'll have a look.
Now, I'm not sure if Godfrey's accent is supposed to be a Scottish accent. If it is, I can't place the region. But I know that Terry's is definitely a Scottish accent. So, rescuing them, they are lumberers, tree fellers, who...
We'll miss the peace and quiet, but we can certainly use the wood.
There you go.
The manor needs a lot of work.
That and other things. Meet me at the small shack by the shoreline when you have time. There's something else you need to see.
What is it?
An asset.
So now we have access to a lumber mill. So we can recruit artisans and farmers to improve the homestead. It gives you new resources to trade and unlocks new items which I can craft. I am going to go and rescue them because it is a mission that's right here and it can be done right now. That mission was, I'm going to have to go into the map to find it though. That mission's here. So when you save people during the homestead missions, it gives you access to their particular craft, their trade, their skills, and what they can bring to your homestead, because that's effectively what we're building here. We're building on Achilles' land, we're making a homestead, and nice. With this homestead, we are looking to, oh, missed the branch I was looking for there. Don't worry though, I can climb this one. Easy. Oh, so fluid moving through the world in this. One button. No nonsense, just point and move. It's just brilliant.
Let's see if our man can fly.
What in God's name is going on? Anyone! Please!
Right, whoa, I need my... There we go. It's your turn now, mate. Here we go. strong boy if he can pull a fully grown man like that, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you all right?
I think so. Didn't do much to me aside from a good scare. Blackguards.
What did they want with you?
My purse, which was meager, and they decided to punish me for their trouble. Silly, really. My tools and equipment were worth a king's share to the right man. In any case, I had best get on my way. It's a long walk to the nearest inn. I thank you again for your kindness.
Have you no home?
Oh, well, I was a proud resident of Boston until recently, but I'm not a supporter of His Majesty, and, well, I was forced out of my woodshop and home by loyalists.
There are plenty around here who could use the services of a skilled craftsman if you were looking for somewhere to settle.
Is that right? I may look into that.
He is a metal worker, I believe, or he might be a wood turner. There's a difference between what Terry and... Yeah, he's a woodworker. I thought so. Yeah, so what Terry and Godfrey produce... Yeah, Terry and Godfrey produce the raw wood, and he produces the actual goods that come out of them. He does the sort of crafting part. There's the lumber mill. So each of their operations, you'll have noticed that they'll have come up as level 1 just now. Each of their operations can be upgraded to increase what they can produce. In Terry and Godfrey's case, it's the difference between like wood types that they can produce, and thus what raw materials. That's what crafted goods can be produced from the raw materials. So you need certain types of wood to make certain types of goods. Beavers, I believe they were. And we are heading for the old cabin by the lake, as Achilles asked us to. If that's the steading, then I'm on the wrong side. Yeah, it is. That's the stables, sorry. So I need to go this way. You can feel the differences, Connor, when you're moving through the environment. Honestly, you can. It feels less clunky than Hatham. But your parkour is not brilliant, as you've seen. When I've meant to aim into that, the Y bend in that tree, I've hit the edge of it when I wasn't pointing in that direction at all. So it can still be frustrating. And there are sometimes there's edges of artifacts where they don't meet properly.
But I have them. Captain Kidd had a secret to be sure. Just get me a ship and a crew, and we'll find out what it was he held so dear. I met him once.
Peg leg.
He was 7 feet tall if he was an inch. I tell you.
Training begins.
Go away!
Said go away, boy! Do you not speak the King's English? Oh, I didn't see you there, old man. I'd have set my home in order if I'd known you'd be calling.
The boy's name is Connor. He's here to restore the property.
Restore? Restore? Pardon my manners. She's still the fastest in the Atlantic. Sure, she needs some attention. Minor things mostly, but with a little affection, she'll fly again.
Who is she?
Who is she? Why, the Aquila boy, the ghost of the North Seas.
The boat.
A boat? She's a ship, boy, and make no mistake about it. I thought you brought him here to restore order. I reckon he's the greenest thing on the frontier.
Connor, meet me back at the manor when you've finished here.
You said it requires repairs. You able?
She does need work. A ship is a she, boy. And yes, I can refit her, but I'm lacking in the proper supplies. Some quality timber would help me get started.
I can see to that. How long before she is able to sail again?
Just get me the lumber, boy. I'll raise a crew.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So in the next episode, we're going to see the gameplay mechanics that inspired the creation of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then a whole slew of content throughout the Assassin's Creed series. This is where the sailing sequences start. So we're gonna rebuild that, and then we're gonna take it to the seas to do missions. And although this is quite clunky, it was heavily refined for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and that is what made Black Flag a lot of people's favourite game in the series. Personally, in the Assassin's Creed series, I would say probably joint top of the series for me are Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Odyssey. I find them the two best games with the two most interesting protagonists and the best gameplay mechanics, in my opinion. I know other people will have their own preferences. I know people that think Assassin's Creed 3 is the best in the series. It's each to their own. So that's what we're going to do in the next episode. But for now, it's only 3 minutes to go till the end of the episode, guys, so unfortunately I have to leave it here. Thank you for joining me once again. We've escaped Boston. We've beat up a few people. We've started work on our homestead, and we're going to raise the Aquila and sail the Atlantic once again. So if you've enjoyed this, guys, please, as I've said before, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the videos you've watched, and please feel free to leave a comment. If you want to see more of my content, you will see in a second there will pop up on the screen a link to a video, a link to a playlist, and a little button that will help you to subscribe to my channel. Feel free to follow all of that back to my channel, where you will find other series I have played, all of the Ezio trilogy, some Tomb Raiders on there, there's some horror games, there's some Horizon, Forbidden West and Zero Dawn on there, so there's lots of stuff for you guys to explore. Feel free to go to the channel and check out that content. But I will see you back here for another episode of Assassin's Creed 3 real soon. Look after yourselves, guys, take care, and I will see you later. Goodbye for now.